The bar opening soon.
And here we are.
We are live.
Right, we're here.
Hello,
All right.
friends.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This
We
is
return.
the Halloween spooky time. We have some analog horror that we're starting off with, and then we'll move into just like reading some creepypastas and some spooky stories, and then maybe we'll write a story of our own. Yeah.
Or
Yeah, that.
talk about how to write your own horror story.
Yes.
Well, I'm not really good at that, so might be a bit of an issue, but
I'd have people arguing that I may not be good at writing horror stories.
Well, you never know. That's why we might want to talk about how you can do it yourself.
This is a
It might not
learning
be that spooky if
experience.
you're the one writing it. For you, that
right,
is.
right.
After all, you are writing the suspense.
I am the suspense.
Interesting.
I don't think I've ever written like a properly good suspense, but we may have an opportunity later, and I can prove myself wrong that I can write a spooky story.
Absolutely.
Yes. So one of the first things kind of wanted to start off with to get kind of the creepy vibes going is I wanted to watch some analog horror. Has anybody seen analog horror before?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, look, it's a pretty new concept for me too. It is. Does anybody else here know what it is enough to an extent to explain it better than I can?
It's horror story on a log, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it, actually.
Wait, is this
I'm
like
here-
the
I'm
horror
here
that
all
like it's on a VHS?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's something like that.
it's
Yeah.
giving the idea that it's essentially lost footage from like a VHS.
Yeah.
You know that.
Oh, like
Yeah,
found
something
footage
from like the
stuff.
70s and 80s.
Yeah, and it's it's a lot of the stuff like it's kind of like SCP kind of things, like sort of
Yeah.
like I think the Backrooms is technically considered analog horror. So
Yeah, I think so.
I was
I don't
about
know.
to say,
Maybe.
as an example.
I mean, certain channels probably more so than others.
but considering that a lot of us are pretty new to the form, I was like, we can explore this. This can be a thing that we do. We can be meta. We can do the
Alright.
meta thing.
It's basically
and-
like imagine if you like worked at a job back in like the 90s and you had to watch those training videos.
yeah,
Um,
it's basically
It's very similar to that.
I've watched training videos from the 90s.
Yeah. So you know what analog horror is.
yes,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
exactly. That's what it feels like. It's but they're all kind of short. We can kind of break them down, our thoughts, our feelings on it. We have people in chat. Hello. If you'd like to share your thoughts, please tell us. Maybe some of you guys know this better than I do. Maybe you can lend us your insights. But
Enlighten us.
without
Yeah, I haven't seen too much regarding analog horror, but honestly, what I've seen, I don't really enjoy it too much. But I haven't seen much.
Ooh, maybe
How dare you?
maybe this will
I
be
don't know.
like us explaining why it isn't for us. Why it's not our thing.
Well, I don't like horror stuff in general. I don't know. I just don't see it as very good. Like horror movies, just horror books and stuff like that. I don't know. They just don't do it for me that much.
I
I
like
have actually heard of the Backrooms and some other things similar to that, so I think I actually have a better idea of this than I thought I did.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And if I'm right, it's going to be mostly. I have an idea as to what's going to make them effective or not.
yes. And maybe there will be. I looked up some some top ones apparently. I got suggested this from a friend of ours. So we're just going to jump in. We're just going to jump into the first one and see how
Yeah.
it goes.
All right.
Can you guys all see this?
Yeah.
Now let's go.
2011, Riley Tillon uploaded 3 videos describing an unseen presence in his home. A 4th video in 2013 raised concerns over his safety and prompted an
Many
official
dimensions
investigation.
intersect with their own, several of which are 2D planes. When 2 or more planes intersect, they form corners. Entities in the intersecting planes cannot perceive each other. They exist separately, in their own worlds. However, the corner folk can pass these boundaries and enter other planes. The corner folk are a trans-dimensional species. They are the only ones who can traverse the corners shaped by planes.
Somebody had fun
Coincidentally,
making
I
this
believe that
entry.
the corners of my own home align with several planes, for I have seen the corner folk in action, crossing the corners from one reality to another.
Man, that I like that special effects.
Yeah, high quality special effects, really.
High quality.
It's like default After Effects, I think.
This leap requires massive amounts of energy that, when released, produces bright blue flashes. I have yet to discover the source of this energy, and the reason behind the cornerfolk crossings remains unknown. While I was at work, my cameras captured up to 12 cornerfolk huddling in the doorway. I used to think that they had to cross dimensions quickly, but the new footage has proven otherwise. When I'm not around, they take a break from traveling and exhibit micro movements similar to dreaming animals. They must feel safe in these corners, which suggests that the corner folk's own home is made of similar structures. I imagine that their corner world is made of many plane intersections, allowing them to move freely without using up any energy. My photographs show that smaller corner folk have odd impressions on their skin, as though they have been pressed against many plane intersections at once. The corners likely belong to a nursery or a crib in their homeworld. A multitude of corners placed in close proximity could be used to secure the infant from leaving the corner world. Perhaps they only cross corners in search of food, the same way we only leave our homes for resources. The corner world may be used to raise young, while my own house's corners serve as rest stops of sorts during their journeys. I've begun to dream of the corner world. I can't stop thinking about it. According to the calendar, I've spent entire weeks in my home, just drawing and describing the corner world on paper. I lost my job last month due to repeated absences, but it really does feel like I just left the office this afternoon. When the corner folk jump, it feels as though they're taunting me. But I'm close to a solution. Regardless of whether my body survives the forces of the corner world or not, this much is certain. The fear of my own destruction will not prevent my entry.
Okay.
Mm,
It sounds like he just had a inspirational dream on how to just fold paper.
Yeah.
That was definitely not one of the best analog horror.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite popular, but like,
This one's popular.
yeah,
Is it?
Like this
I've
video
never
has,
heard of it
What?
before.
it's got like 1.5 million views on this video.
Oh.
Okay,
Um,
I'm baffled.
But
People know Stephen King exists.
what? Yeah,
There's more horror out there than this.
yeah. I think what draws people to it is like the perceived reality of it. They kind of put it in context. They do the whole found footage thing where they tell you a bit about like the person who recorded it, and they've gone missing, or like they can't be found, or they're dead, or something. Like it's the stuff
Yeah.
around it and the mystery surrounding it. I do think they lost it towards the end because the video itself got more unrealistic.
It was
got-
the IRL footage, the editing that got me.
I think they got lost in the paint in their world building a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There wasn't much to grasp onto. I still don't really know what the corner folk are, not gonna lie.
I think just an extra dimensional entity that likes corners.
Yeah.
and they're what you see
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
corner
I
of
think
their
that's
eye.
what it is.
Which in itself doesn't seem like too scary, It's like they're just kind
Yeah.
of there. I don't know.
I don't think
That's
it's
it.
necessarily supposed to be scary. I think it's more like it's just surreal, bizarre, kind of very Eldritch. It's not like something that you can easily explain.
So like if we look at the comments, like the top one's like, I like that the corner folk are, as far as anyone can tell, completely harmless, and it's the narrator who did something stupid and dangerous as opposed to the standard creepypasta monster. Like he went too far, but the corner folk are fine.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Jen,
I'll
don't
accept
sound
that.
too enthusiastic
I
about
wouldn't
this.
label it horror.
Right.
I
I'll
would
accept
label it
her explanation.
suspense.
I guess.
Although
Ah.
this work is fictitious, the folk are not.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
You have any more lined up?
I do. We have this thing called Local 58. Again, no idea. I'm assuming it's like a mock
Like a
news
local
station.
TV show?
Yeah, it's been going for 4 years now, with the last one being like 11 months, and they just post like a series of really short videos.
Yeah, this is what I think I've seen more often.
Yeah, so this is the one. I'm just gonna send it to you guys so you guys can see it instead of watching the stream.
Now, is the sound coming through the stream?
The sound is coming through the stream,
Okay.
but I can send it to you guys so you guys can watch along. That is no big.
Okay, so which one are we going to be watching
We're
first?
going to be watching the first one, sort of introduce us to this Local 58 world. You are on the fastest available route.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Let's go.
Beat music.
The Midnight Movie.
Proceed to the highlighted route. Continue on Holbrook Park Drive, then in 500 feet turn right
This
onto
is more
North
what I was
38th Street.
expecting.
You will arrive
Yeah,
at your
this is
destination
one
in
is
2
a lot
hours and
better.
28 minutes. Turn right onto North 38th Street.
It kind of makes me this one like
In a quarter
feel like
mile,
analog
turn
horror
left onto Merritt
and liminal
Parkway.
spaces,
You are on the fastest
at least
available
adjacent
route.
mediums.
Yes.
One. Is that feeling that like, oh, I've been in this situation.
Turn left onto Merritt Parkway, then take the on-ramp to Highway 114
A
North.
sense of familiarity, yet oddness.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's like something that's not quite right.
Traffic
Right.
ahead, rerouting. In 10 miles, take exit 17, then turn right onto Quarry Utility Road South. You are on the fastest route. In 2.8 miles, keep right to stay on Service Causeway H516. You will arrive at your destination in 14 minutes.
Yeah, I've driven down some roads like this.
It's not even a dirt road. It's a gorgeous road.
Yeah.
Rerouting. Make a U-turn. Head east for 1/4 of a mile, then follow signs for do
Yeah,
not
that reminds me
enter.
of Google back when like Google would give like really bizarre directions.
That was a nice
Yeah.
touch. Follow signs for do not enter.
Continue on unnamed road. Then, in 300 feet, turn off your headlights. Rerouting. Make a U-turn. Your destination is behind you. Rerouting. In 500 feet. Your destination will be on in 300 feet. Your destination in 250 feet. Rerouting. Your destination will be in 50 feet. You will arrive at your destination.
That was
Yeah,
good.
that was really good.
You have arrived.
That's done.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's basically like a play on like how Google Streets or whatever, I can't remember what it's called. It would like give out really weird directions on where to go, and you'd like end up in really random places.
Yeah,
As
no,
a detour.
I like it. It uses things that we are like as humans kind of a little worried about, like the AI or whatever, like it's telling you directions, we rely on it so much. I know that a lot of people are worried about how much we rely on these things, and it sort of takes
I think
that
it's even before
anxiety.
AI.
Oh yeah, but like early versions of
Yeah.
I mean, because it is sort of like an AI, like, but it's just not that smart. Like the thing that tells you
Yeah.
the
Right.
route to go down or whatever. It is,
I think
like
it's so much that it's an AI doing it. I think it's so much as that something you should be able to trust, you can no longer trust.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like the old news stories of like people getting into accidents because they followed Google or like Apple Maps, whatever.
Mm.
Or what's the Gremlin or Grim? What was the one company that was a road before like Google became dominating? I can't remember. It's like started with
Oh,
a G.
I use
yeah,
Garmin.
hold up.
Yeah, Garmin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that was
back
good.
when MapQuest was used.
Yeah, but I feel like this one actually works a lot better. And I
Yeah.
feel like one of the reasons is because the other, like, you don't really get to see what the danger is, really. What's that you're basically giving no information at all compared to the other one where you're giving whatever that
All
little
the information
thing
straight
is.
up.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't. You don't really feel much. The other one, it's like there's like no audio. It's just except for the maps and stuff like that, and then you're just driving, and that's it. And I
Yeah.
feel like it works so much better as a horror thing than the other one.
Yeah. You're looking
And
for
also
something.
the special effects were better too.
I don't think it was the special effects. I think it was that you were so preoccupied with looking for something, you're not really paying attention to the GPS speaking and tell,
Hmm.
Yeah.
wait a second, the time's not quite matching up with how long it said. Why is it telling us to go unnamed node,
Right.
unnamed road, or follow do not entry,
Hmm.
or do not enter, and then the destination will be in 300 feet, 250
Yeah.
feet, 50
And then
feet.
turn off your light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, I don't know how this whole local 58 TB world works. I don't know if they're related. Maybe it's isolated things. Maybe they all sort of come together. But this is obviously like a YouTube TV station that has some creepy shit.
Right.
So
I'm just imagining the YouTuber like going to the daily 9 to 5 job, like full-time job. It's just a normal corporate environment, and because of like the environment is like corporate often feel surreal and like bizarre and like how things operate. They gain inspirations from like daily commutes and stuff like that.
yeah.
Hmm. Right.
Are we doing contingency?
We are doing contingency. Are you guys ready for contingency?
Yeah.
I am.
Yep.
Let's go. 3 minutes. Ooh, I like this vibe already.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, remember that was like back in the day, like things would just end, like and have a good night, and then it would just be off.
Okay, that was disturbing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's one point that's quite interesting is if you didn't know how many states there were in the U.S., that last part may not have landed.
But no, that was like
That one was a different flavor of horror.
yes.
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, that's like obviously playing off of our like fear of other plans that we don't know about that are being developed by the people who are meant to like protect us kind of thing.
I
Mm,
don't think it's that. I think it's much more as the people you are expecting to take care of you are now telling you that they no longer can, and the best thing you can do is end it. For the future that is coming is much worse.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There were like
Or
some
the fact that it's a message that's odd and you wouldn't expect to see it.
mm,
yeah, and
Because
then
I
like a
remember
bunch of
this time they
symbolisms.
would often test or just have like programs or little messages like that late at night just because they would fill the void with something and they wanted to make sure that the footage or the message was still able to be used.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we had the one thing that happened in Hawaii where the person accidentally used the wrong testing. So people actually thought that a missile was heading towards
All
Hawaii.
right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got this
I feel like this one works too.
it's got this like utopian horror like element to it, like this whole it seems to be playing off these ideas that, you know, the almost like the American spirit. And when you're told to, like, you know, it's time to act now, you know, like citizens of your country and stuff like that, you know, this it's call to action, and this yeah, this like almost glorification of like the call to arms, and it's like it's playing on almost the niceness of it to a horrific degree.
I think we might be reading too much into it. I think it's a horror in the fact that someone may see that late at night and think that it actually happened and
Yeah.
follow the instructions without noticing that there's too many or too few states listed, that it seems to be oddly glitchy. Because what happens if you saw something you thought was an official government thing saying you were being invaded and there was nothing they could do?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I haven't watched the show yet, but I have heard of one of Amazon's shows, Electric Dreams. It has something similar where the person's watching a debate and one of the people starts saying things that are like bizarre. And it's like, I'm gonna start doing really bad things, and the person's like, "Did you hear that? Did that person just say what I thought they said?" And then it's like they're the only ones that see or it's like the movie Them. I think it's they, them.
Makes you question your own sanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like I've been really meaning to watch Electric Dreams. I believe that's based like on Philip K. Dick's work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
It's a big fan of mine. A big fan of mine. I'm a big fan of his. I wish he was a big fan of mine.
I mean, I was like,
Right.
it's possible. Maybe he is a big
he has
fan of.
Unfortunately, he has not been alive for some time. So
Well, maybe Seance. Maybe.
Yeah, that does seem a bit of an thing.
You never know. His zombie could be watching right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it's Philip K. Dick, it's more like his robot. But yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Well, it wouldn't be horror if it was something he wanted.
Well, there you go.
Okay. We're going to move on to the third one. This is weather service. I'm hoping that these all have their own like distinct feel, because so far we've had two very different things in the same genre, obviously, but two very different
Yeah.
types of horror.
Yeah.
Just gonna. Is everybody ready for weather service?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wait,
Let's-
hold up. I'm pulling it up.
All good?
Wait.
Yep.
And okay, I got it.
All good. Let's go.
I know that sound.
Oh, yeah. Is this what spawned Siren Head?
Ooh.
I don't actually know.
Interesting. Definitely different feeling.
Damn. That
That was good.
it had a little similar vibe to the last one, like at least in like idea, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
a broadcast that you could construe as, you know, being
Although
accurate.
that one was a little bit more. Somebody knows that the broadcast isn't right.
Yeah.
It's like a insider inside the department who's trying to like
Yes.
warn the people.
Mm.
Although this is definitely a very good like a way of just showing different types of horror or different aspects of horror that you could combine together to make one solid horror medium or horror
Yeah, this is
video
like more like
story.
glimpses around the like that universe. It's not like I don't feel like it's like a single place. It's like different parts of the country.
I wouldn't
Mhm.
Or
say
like
that it's like glimpses at a universe. I think what it is the videos are outlining different parts that make up horror
maybe.
Ooh,
or different
elaborate.
methods of using horror. So the first one was taking what was familiar, turning it in, and having that familiarity used against you. It's something you should be able to trust, can no longer be trusted.
Yeah.
And then the contingency is seeing something that never seen that before, but it looks official. I guess I should follow it.
Yeah.
And then weather services taking something, and then you're seeing it change before your eyes to tell you to do the thing that you pretty sure it said not to do just a moment ago.
I feel really small brain while watching these, I'm not gonna lie. Because I hear you in creation and it's like I feel like you got so much more out of it from me, like than like me. I am like the key demographic for this kind of video in the sense of like I am the person it will scare and they don't know why it's scary.
First. I mean, I just like it because, like for this one, I've actually seen this one before.
Okay.
Like I forgot, I don't even know where, but I've seen it before, and I really like it because I don't know, it's something about like the mystery that comes with it. Because even at the end, it shows like an actual recording, well, actual in universe, I guess, recording of someone looking at the moon, and you
Yeah.
can hear screams in the background. So it's like obviously something is going on, but they don't really tell you what is going on. You just know something bad is happening,
Yeah.
and I really like that in the story sense. Like horror, it doesn't really scare me much, but I like it as a story.
It's
I
not so
think it
much
probably also
scaring as setting up suspense or
Well, yeah,
intrigue.
that.
yeah. It probably
Well,
also
it
like
intrigued me.
leverages conspiracy theories related to the moon and stuff.
do not get started on the moon landing was faked.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
I mean,
No, that's the
Jeez.
least. That's the least problematic one.
but I mean, like, what other conspiracies are there around the moon?
Of all the ones, like that's like the least issue.
That's the
It's
least
like there's
issue?
like the like the moon isn't actually there. It's a projection.
What?
The moon is hollow. The moon is another entity.
What would be the point of projecting a moon?
Oh, to cover
Exactly.
up that the Earth is flat.
What?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm losing brain
I don't
cells
know
as we're
about that one.
talking.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
So
one,
like
you know.
that's why I'm saying like the moon landing being faked is like the least problematic one. It's like of all the ones that are like possible, like you could argue like that one's the most possible, but like the other ones get crazier.
Oh no, it would be you can't you yeah. I think we should move on from conspiracy
Yes.
theories.
Yes.
now.
So
Yeah,
how are you guys
that.
feeling? Do you want to watch more of these? Do you want to move on to some writing? It's up to you guys.
I
Well,
think
what does
maybe we should move on
chat?
to some narration.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Let me do some things.
We went down from 6 to 5. We need to move on. We need to move. Panic button.
Are we losing the people? But anyways, that was those. Okay. Now we are moving on to creepypastas. We'll each narrate a creepypasta or a spooky short story or something.
Yeah, that.
The first one that we're starting off with is those deep dark wells. I'd just like to say before we start that this is written by Michael Page, and he has given permission for people to narrate him as long as we shout him out. So this is his website, michaelpageblog.wordpress.com, and he's got all his stories up here. And yeah, let's get started into this one. I don't think any of us have read this yet, so I'll leave it to Grid to take it away.
All right.
This
Those Deep Dark Wells, written by Michael Page. The terrible thing happened at night, as most terrible things do. While I click-clacked away at my home job as a transcriptionist, I'd often watch the boys playing in the backyard. They'd be at it for hours, acting out some scene with foam swords and plastic guns, only stopping when the sun left to rise elsewhere. Seeing Mason happy made me happy. He'd finally found a friend. His father left us when he was 6 months old, and, more or less, held no role in his life. Sure, there were occasional visits every few years, but even those were short and feigned, not even so much as an annual birthday card. Perhaps that was why Mason anchored himself such a secure distance away from other kids, a point driven home by his fifth-grade teacher and several others. Part of me didn't blame him. Kids in school, especially the ones I can recall, weren't the friendliest bunch. If you were lucky, you could pick out the sharks from the minnows and avoid them. But honestly, they all looked the same, twinned together in the same concrete box. Please, give him a best friend, I'd whisper at my bedside every night, sending out the same message to God, or at least to something just as benevolent to hear my prayer. Give my son his first best friend. Then, one day, much to my wonderment, Mason brought Todd home for a playdate. He was a petite boy with mismatched clothes, unkempt hair, and the bluest eyes you've ever seen. I was ecstatic, relieved that my son had finally cracked open his shell and found a buddy. I saw him at the park, Mason told me when I asked how they met. He was sitting alone at the swings, like he was sad. When he saw me on my bike, he waved. I waved back. Then we hung out, and he was really cool. As he shared this, I couldn't help but smile at his excitement. So much deserved by the loneliest boy in the world. That night, they had a sleepover, passed out in the living room. From my bedroom, I could hear the muffled speech of our television, which they had left on. Sighing, I untucked myself out of bed and walked sluggishly down the stairs to them. Light from the screen pulsed and stretched over the sleeping boys. Mason was swaddled in his blanket on the floor, while Todd was curled up on the couch. I scanned for the remote and after no luck, I moved to shut it off myself. Crick. A lone bag of chips crinkled underneath my foot. From the couch, Todd's shape twitched, then bolted upright. I meant to say, sorry, but I was stopped short. When Todd jutted awake and opened his eyes, I couldn't see them. They hadn't rolled up in their sockets or slipped to their sides. They were simply gone. 2 holes of singular darkness. Todd had blue eyes, vividly blue eyes. But at that instant, not even the glow of the television reflected off those dark membranes, black as Santa's coal. Then he blinked, and his vivid blue eyes returned. Before I could say anything, his mouth stretched into a yawn, and his body slumped back into the cushions. I was stiff as a board, somewhat relieved I hadn't shrieked and woken them both up. My thoughts told me it was a trick of the light, as did any speck of reason. Vision played games with you that way. I switched off the television and went back to bed. A few weeks later, on an especially windy evening, a knock came at the door. Todd was there as usual, seesawing on his soles patiently. "Hi there," I smiled. "Hi." He smiled, his thin neck cocked. "Can Mason come out and play?" Before I even had to answer, Mason had already squeezed past me, still working one of his arms through his jacket sleeve. "Bye, Mom." I watched as they disappeared down the street. The rule was to be back before dark, and to their credit, the boys always returned just as the sky started to dim. On that particular outing, they came home with some cool rocks they'd found and dirt-clotted sneakers. By the time Todd was ready to walk back home, it had fallen too dark for him to go alone. I gave him a ride, with the boys in the back seat. It wasn't a far drive, as his house was only a few streets away. Every so often, my eyes would slip back to the rear view and see Todd watching the street, Mason dozing off next to him. As we passed beneath the street lamps, a bar of light would creep through the window, roll over his face, and vanish over his head. The car's lane rocked as my wheels rolled too hastily over a speed hump. His gaze left the window and met mine. Only this time, as the slanted light skimmed over his features, blue eyes did not look back at me. They were gone, blotted out by the same oily darkness. Silent, murky circles. Even his skin, in that quick moment, looked different. Like dry, mottled clay, fit poorly over a skull. Lips bloodlessly shriveled. I slammed on the brake, jostling all of us with a sudden lurch. Mason gasped himself into wide-eyed awareness. As fast as it had happened before, the straight-faced horror in my backseat returned to a sweet young boy, shocked and surprised. "Sorry," I breathed. "Sorry about that, guys. I thought I saw a cat in the road." We reached Todd's house, a white ranch style with a flowering dogwood tree in the front yard. As the boys said their goodbyes, I could only stare into the dashboard, my heart sending tremors down my arms. The world felt off its tilt, as if the lines separating actuality and nonsense were blurred. I was disoriented by how real it seemed. His eyes like deep, dark wells, his unhealthy skin stretched and pulled like a death mask. My thoughts clashed with the fold of my brain that formed logic, and eventually, logic won. It was all in my head. Period. But, despite how far-fetched it sounded, I actively avoided eye contact with Todd, not even giving a sliver of opportunity for that oily pitch to return. If it even happened in passing glance or a quick double take, I'd be back to circling the rim of a mental collapse. A week later, I went to pick up Mason from Todd's house. I pulled up along the curb, texted, "I'm here," and waited for some time. There was no sign he'd read my message, nor did he answer any of my calls. When I got tired of waiting, I twisted the keys out of the ignition and made my way up the slim walkway. The house was missing a great deal of shingles, which scarred its roofline in dark patches. The rain gutters were clogged and stunk of decomposing leaves. I knocked briskly and waited. The door unlocked, held only partially open by a door chain. Yes? The face peeking out asked. His voice was nasally, like it was lodged somewhere in his throat, right in the pit of it. Hi, I'm Holly, Mason's mum. Here to pick him up? The door closed and then opened fully as the chain slid out of its holder. The man on the other end was lanky with onset baldness, widening his forehead, his eyes tired and heavy. Oh, sorry about that, he said, flashing a thin-lipped smile and offering a handshake. David, the boys are probably still on their way back, but they'll be here any minute now. You can come inside and wait if you'd like. I've got some tea ready to go. I took him up on the offer and followed him inside. At our immediate right was the living area, where a woman sat watching a rom-com on the television. Paying no mind to the sound at the door, she kept her back to us. Beneath the show's timed laugh track, I could hear the sound of hard, labored breathing. Hanging over the side of the sofa drooped a thin, skeletal wrist. On the wall, a grey Kit Kat clock shifted its eyes and wagged its tail. The kitchen was small, with a triangular arrangement of sink, stove, and refrigerator, a small dance between the three. Flowery wallpaper looped around the room. A Formica-topped table sat against the wall with minty green chairs. I took a seat in one as David retrieved some cups from the cabinet. The smell of light orchid drifted through the air. I hope you like green tea, he said quietly as he filled up the cups and brought them over. Green is fine, I replied, taking the cup from him. Thank you. He planted himself in the chair. They're really fond of each other, aren't they? The boys, I mean. I'd say so. You can hardly keep Mason away, I laughed. By this point, I had noticed the dark pouches beneath his eyes more clearly. In fact, his overall appearance seemed to hang in a mournful sag. Whatever supplement he needed, he was missing a lot of it. So, how long have you been in the neighborhood? I asked, for the sake of conversation. Oh, a good while now, he mused, rubbing a finger along his cup. Really? I'm surprised Mason didn't meet Todd sooner. Our houses aren't too much far from each other. Todd? He asked, as though needing a moment to remember his own son's name. Oh, yes. That is pretty surprising. He, gets around. Mason never sees him at school. Does he go to a different district? Lines creased his mouth. School. Well, we... From the living room, a harsh, guttural coughing reached us. David's neck swiveled towards the sound. Excuse me, my wife needs me. He left his chair and hastily went to her. Not long after that, the front door opened as Todd and Mason arrived. As we said our goodbyes to David and his silent wife, he clasped my hand in a tight shake. It was nice meeting you, Holly. Really, it was. When he released his grip, I realized there was something left in my palm. When we were back in the car, I folded it open. What's that, Mom? Mason asked. Nothing, sweetie. I smiled back at him, placing the crumpled note in my lap. A phone number, a time to call, and the word help scribbled into its loose leaf. It was nightfall when I unfurled and read it again. I was in the backyard, occupying a seat at our fire pit, my cell phone in one hand and a cigarette pinched in the other. The note said to call at 8, which was only 5 minutes away. As the time drew closer, my chest grew tighter with anxiousness. Moments ago, I'd snuck into my own room, pulled out the bottom shelf of my dresser, and unearthed the pack of Marlboros hidden there. 3 years I've been without them. In 3 years I kept my promise to my Mason to stop smelling like an ashtray. But tonight, shamefully, they were the only thing holding me together. And the clock on my phone pulsed 8. I took a long drag on the cigarette and dialed a number. The tone churred in and out a few times and finally connected. Hello? David's voice chattered on the other end. Who is this right now? My heart rattled in my throat. It's Holly, Mason's mom. The voice exhaled and then returned briskly. I need you to listen to me, okay? Are you listening? Yes, I'm listening. Keep it away from your boy. The fire pit popped and spat a few embers. Keep what away? What are you talking about? Listen, he snapped, a manic weight to his words. Don't let Mason come over here anymore. Isn't safe for him. Don't even let it go over there. You have to stop this now. I twisted my neck back towards the house, then leaned forward in my chair. Are we talking about your son right now? It isn't my son, he scorned. Not at all. Not in any way. You need to calm down. If you need help, I can call the police. No, no police, he screamed, his voice so tight and stressed that it splintered on the other end. It'll take more from her if you do that. My wife, she can't handle much more. It's taking something from her. Taking something from me. We can't get rid of it now. It's too late for us. But not for you. You can stop this. He started to weep and to mutter to himself. He came to our door to use the phone. Why did he let it in? Why did he let it use the fucking phone? Something stirred in his background. He paused and then whispered, Keep it away from him. And then he hung up. I'm not sure how long I sat out there, but it was long enough for the flames to shrink into powdery mounds. When I entered the house again, Mason was on the couch with his tablet. You smell weird, he said, taking note of me. The fire pit, I lied. My thoughts too heavy to muster anything else. He flashed me a big smile and tactfully asked, Can I have a sleepover at Todd's this weekend? No, I answered stiffly. That isn't going to work. Why not? He persisted. Todd always sleeps over here. Why can't we do his? Because, Mason. I said no. End of story. He shot an icy look of defiance at me. Fine, then he'll sleep over here then. No, he won't. We are going to take a break from Todd for a while. His jaw opened flabbergasted. You can't do that. I just did, I said. Perhaps a little too matter-of-factly. As I walked back up the stairs, I could feel the burn of his eyes watching me on every step. Both of our nights now ruined. David's deranged garble on the phone sat with me for the rest of the night. I had no idea what to do, what to fix, what to think. Keep it away. It isn't safe for him. The message so vague, but almost so desperately clear. I had to keep Mason safe. That was all that mattered. The next day, after Mason was back from school, I sat him down on the couch. I'm sorry for last night, I said. I was very stressed. But that is not the way I want us to speak to each other again, okay? His eyes naturally scanned the floor. Okay. I love you, Mason, and no matter what, I want you to be safe. So there are a few things I need to know about Todd. Will you do that for me? He nodded again, his sneakers softly kicking the backpack slumped on the carpet. Did he ever act weird or strange to you? His head shook. What about his parents? Did he act different around them at all? Same answer. I wasn't sure how to word the next question, but I did my best anyway. Did he ever do something with his eyes? This time, Mason nodded. My heart squeezed itself smaller. I wanted so much to change the subject, to retreat to the kind cadence of sanity. But I had to know more. I had to protect my son. What did he do with his eyes? A trick, Mason replied hesitantly. Told me not to tell anyone, though. You have to tell me. His lips crinkled, trying to keep the secret zipped up. Then he finally spoke. He could make them disappear. I felt drugged by his words, my head even feeling lighter, like all the logic in the world had just been raptured away. You did see them, my thoughts repeated. You did see the deep, dark wells. As quickly as all my self-doubt left, a scream of dread filled the empty spaces. Did it scare you? I asked. A little, Mason replied absently. He said not to be, though, that he'd show me how to do it, too. I grabbed his shoulder, making him jump suddenly. He didn't, though, right? He didn't do anything to you. He looked confused, like I was the one talking crazy now. No. I know that he is your friend, Mason, but I need you to promise me that you won't see him anymore. Mason's gaze flicked back to mine, his eyes wide with betrayal. What? The tears began to come down. Promise me, I repeated, the words like razors scraping down my tongue. I don't want to. Mason. After much hesitation, he tearfully replied, I promise. I hugged him, closed my eyes, and surrendered to the cruelty of it all. For the rest of that hellish week, I kept my ears tuned to the knock at the door. For whatever reason, Todd never used the doorbell. Inevitably, the knock came. Behind the frosted glass of our front door, I could see Todd's vague shape teetering on his soles. When the door opened, he smiled up at me. Hi, can Mason come out and play? Sorry, dear, I smiled back. Mason can't play today. The corner of his mouth lifted as his neck cocked to the side. Can he later? No, I don't think so. Sorry. His nose wrinkled, and the skin between his eyebrows creased. Okay. I closed the door, watched him leave, and that was that. It might take a few times, but eventually the message would sink in. Leave my son alone. I felt a sense of pride behind that. And what could possibly better protect a boy than his mother? But when I turned and saw Mason's cold eyes from the stairs, the pride all but evaporated. When Todd returned the next day, I gave him the same answer. Then the day after that, and the one after that. I couldn't even refuse to answer when he knocked. Otherwise, he'd sit there and wait. Knock again. And wait some more, knowing full well we were home. 4 straight evenings of it. And poor Mason, he had every right to despise me for this. No parent could want to wall themselves between their son and his best friend, his first friend. But what choice did I have? We were drifting apart, orbiting ever farther away from one another. He was my prisoner, and I was the judge sentencing him to a lonely world. Surely he'd make new friends, right? The world was full of them, and if anything, this was proof that he could find them. That thought helped me cope, anyways. When the knock came for the 5th time in a row, my tolerance had run out. Todd wasn't catching on, and to make matters more irritating, it was 8 or so at night at this time. So part of me hoped it was someone else, maybe a neighbor bringing a package that was wrongfully left on their doorstep. But I knew better than that, and I was not allowing this to go any further. Mason was doing his homework at the kitchen table when I passed by him. No acknowledgement whatsoever. When I pulled the door open, Todd was standing beneath our porch light. Both shoulders hunched over his ears as though expecting me to smack him. And perhaps verbally that was what I did. Go home, I said assertively. We're done. No more of this, all right? Can Mason come out to play? He asked sorrowfully, as though it weren't after dark. No, Todd. He can't. And he won't the next day, or the next. Now go home and stay there. His small arm rubbed his sleeve nervously. It's really dark. I don't want to walk home alone. Can I use your phone to call my parents? I felt absolutely cruel, but I also knew the game he was trying to play. You walked here on your own, you can walk back on your own. Then, as I moved to close the door and end the conversation, Todd made his eyes disappear. The darkness washed over them quickly and seemed to actually curdle in his sockets, a thickening, horrible texture. His face became milk wax, the sad child disappearing behind it. Beads of perhaps sweat dripped from his temples. One ran into his eye and vanished into the void. I want to come inside, he spoke, the sorrowful note in his voice also gone. My heart slackened to a deep, slow throb. I felt the need to pinch my side, to tweak it hard enough to draw blood and wake from this moment. Between the dead, shriveled lips, I could see the decayed tips of black teeth. Can I please come inside? He asked. No, I said semi-reactively. His black, craving eyes narrowed at me. For a moment, I actually thought they started to cry, but it was the darkness dribbling down his cheeks, oozing like oil slicks. I just want to play with Mason. The sound of it, the sound of that horrible face saying my son's name snapped me out of the shock. I slammed the door closed and quickly locked it. Mason stood stiffly in the kitchen. His expression was only a shimmer of consciousness, vacant as a sleepwalker. Mason, look at me. Honey, it's all okay. Everything's going to be okay. But his unfocused eyes were not facing me. 3 firm knocks came from the door. When I turned to face it, a dark shape lingered behind the frosted glass. A tall figure, taller than any adult, was hunching to look inside. And from behind the single pane that separated us, its vague shape didn't move. From the other side, Todd's childish voice was still calling, Can I please come inside? Don't you want to play, Mason? Don't you want to play? I could feel it watching us, like static vibrating the air. When I tried to move Mason, he refused to budge, staring emptily towards the evil thing behind the glass. Heavy as he was, I scooped him up in my arms and bolted for the stairs. It won't break in, my thoughts uttered. It isn't allowed to. Well, that much I was sure of. If it wanted to get in, it would have by now. It needed to be invited. I shut both of us away in the bathroom upstairs, and when the sounds of the front door finally ceased, Mason snapped out of it. He was confused, like he'd missed everything that transpired. I wasn't sure whether to consider that a blessing or not. Perhaps it was, and perhaps also it was not God that answered my prayer. It was impossible to digest what happened that night. Sometimes I'd linger on the stairs, right on the top step, to watch the doorway. Wonder if the glass would suddenly darken, if Todd's voice would slip through and ask to come inside. One night, David had left a voicemail on my phone. She's gone, his voice whimpered. It got what it wanted from her. Drained her dry. Now, my wife won't wake up and has left us. I don't know what it wants from your boy, but it wants something. No matter what, don't let it back inside. The message cut out after that, and he still won't answer my calls. God never did come back, and I won't have it any other way. Strangely, though, the one least affected by all of this was Mason. I was worried to see him fall back into that distant bubble. But that isn't what happened. He started to make friends with other kids around the neighborhood. New friends. Normal friends. He'd become a real social butterfly. And despite my brain ripping itself apart to understand what I had seen, I at least had that comfort to cling to. Seeing Mason happy made me happy. Lately, though, I've been feeling strange. It's been harder to feel motivated about things, let alone get out of bed in the morning. Even my appetite has started to dwindle. Day by day, I've been growing increasingly sapped and lethargic. I don't know what's wrong, but it's getting worse. Mason's been helping me get around the house, even going out of his way to play chef and make me things to eat. He's a good boy, but sometimes, dear Lord, I catch something in his eyes. Something that shouldn't be there. But it's only a trick of the light. Please, God, let it only be a trick of the light. And that was Deep Dark Wells by Michael Page.
Ooh. Ooh.
All right.
That was amazingly narrated. I got chills, man.
Great
I
job,
got
Fred.
chills. You did
Great
a great
job.
job. How do we
Thank
feel
you.
about that?
If the last sentence was gone, I'd feel better.
Why?
I don't know. I think I liked how it just ended without the last sentence.
I quite like the last sentence. I mean, this is all kind of a stream of consciousness thing from the person who wrote it. I mean, supposedly that's the style they're going for.
Right.
Mm.
So that kind of works as to like the inner thoughts. I thought it was good.
Like there's some points when you know something is wrong, and you know that you know it, but you don't want to acknowledge it. So you tell yourself it's not true. It didn't happen.
Yeah, I
It's
get that,
okay.
but
Mhm.
I think of it more like I prefer like when things just like end, and then like you don't get that satisfaction. I feel like this would have been a good example of that.
Maybe.
But like I understand what you're saying. I just think like for this kind of story, like a creepypasta, stuff like that works. Like the sort of like
Yeah, I understand it's not the yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I agree that like I think for as a creepypasta, the ending works really well. But that same ending is something that a lot of horror stuff does, which for me I really don't like. Is that they're like, oh, we've dealt with the situation, and it turns out that oh no, we actually didn't deal with it. Now something else is happening, and I've seen that so many times, done again and again and again. And to me, it gets really annoying. But for the story as its own thing, I think it works really well.
I see a lot of short stories, and I have read a few horror stories that end with something in his eyes that shouldn't be there, like what Creation said. And it works well, but after a time, it's nice to have that last sentence that says, they know that it's not right, and they're just praying that it
Like I feel like
isn't, that
it
there's
like
just their mind playing tricks on them.
it's like being really obvious. It's like the reader doesn't it's hey, I want to make sure that you understand that this is not a good thing kind of thing.
So you think it's too on the nose?
No, it's like it's like obviously like it didn't end well. And then like but the writer is like making sure that the reader knows it hasn't ended well. I don't know. Maybe I'm just badly explaining it, or
No, both points of views have valid things, and they're both valid. There is no right way to end the story.
Yeah, I do see what you mean.
Except do it well.
I don't
Right.
think. I don't know.
I wouldn't say it ended badly. I would say it was just ended in a way that might not match up with what some people prefer.
Yeah, that's. I'm not saying that's a bad ending. I was just saying like I would have preferred the last sentence not to exist.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a question of taste and also form. Like as we said before, this is a creepypasta. They tend to end like that. That's kind of
Right.
Yeah.
that's kind of a part of the form. I don't necessarily take it out. Like
No,
another
I get
paragraph
it.
for like being like
I
on the
get it.
nose. It is just like a part of the form, and I don't think it really took anything away from the story as a whole. I really liked it. Anyways, moving on. I really liked it. It was like a little cliche. I feel like we've all seen that horror movie or whatever. But
I have to like how it was turning Mason into another one of it.
I mean, it's similar to like the urban legend of the black-eyed children.
I don't
Never
know
heard
that
of
one.
Me neither.
It's like basically you'll have children that don't have eyes, and like they'll always ask you if they can come in, but like
that's
you can't
probably
let
what
them.
the story is based off of then.
Yeah, and so that's what's playing. It's playing off that familiarity, I think, or at least like you already have a good like concept, and so you're basically just like remixing it a little bit.
Oh yeah, I see it.
It's similar to like the hero's journey. Like it's already a good format, so don't mess something that's already good.
There was a movie about it. Interesting.
A movie.
Yeah, it's called Black Eyed Kids. supposedly.
Yeah.
There is this short film, and I wonder if we can watch it. It's really
Probably
short. And it touches on a lot of what we were just talking about just then. I'll look it up as we go through like our next story, because I think it would be one of those enlightening experiences for how you can turn like a cliche kind of idea like that into a really short form, really horrific experience quite quickly. Also, the next on our agenda is creation. Hello?
So I just start reading, or
I mean, you can introduce the story. You can.
oh, okay. So basically, this is a story that I wrote. It's my first attempt at first person form or whatever it's called. I don't really know what. It's just basically like it's from the perspective of the character, and I use it whenever I need a break from my main story that I've been kind of playing around with it. And so it's a mystery, and yeah, it's the main character. I try to like make it like eerie, but I don't know if I hit the mark or not. So I'll just start, I guess.
Do we need to know anything about it before we start, or is it just
I don't think so.
Yep,
I've never done this before, so
that's all good.
the sound of the keys on the keyboard echo in my small studio apartment as I try to finish up the results of my latest investigative work. They really thought they could get away with selling placebos to those villagers? Shaking my head, I remember the scene inside the hospital with the rows of patients suffering from an outbreak of Sullivan's disease. Even now, I still feel the restrictive feeling of the biohazard suit protecting me from the infected as I took photos of children reaching out in desperation. Their arms were covered in lesions, viscous bodily fluids seeping out of the infected wounds. Gagging a little, I leaned back in my chair to keep the bile down. Fuck. I place a hand over my eyes, trying to forget everything. You can't lose it now, Brian. Get your head back in the game and find the next story. You got this. I attempt to psych myself up for the next story. Pulling the hand down my face, I lean forward and look over the article I finished editing. This article was several times longer and denser compared to my other words. It made me sacrifice several days to polish it up, but looking over the content I feel as though it was worth it. I couldn't help but look at the growing piles of bills in my incoming tray. Most of the bills had been moved to the over 1 month due tray. Pulling out my smartphone, I checked for any messages and noticed the missed call and voicemail icon, reminding me of the messages I received about my bill being due. I hate those automated messages. I shoved the phone back into my pocket, glad to get rid of some of them after the editor approves my article. Gary was likely waiting for my email. He knew how badly I needed the money and made arrangements with accounting to have it dispersed upon his approval to my online banking account. Opening up the Courage browser, I turned on the Enigma router function built into the software. On top of the virtual private network I use, the Enigma router was just an additional layer of anonymity I use when submitting articles to Gary. The last thing I need is some of these companies tracking me down, I sighed. Making sure to remove any metadata on a document file, I typed in the URL for the anonymous email service I used. Seeing the login screen, I moved the cursor to where my locally stored password manager was located and typed in the master password. Selecting the folder labeled email, I went through and copied the password. Going back to the browser, I pasted it in the necessary login name and my 50+ long password. Seeing how I had an unread message waiting for me, I quickly clicked to compose a new email and upload the document. Appreciate you waiting for me to finish the article, Gary. Hope I didn't make you wait too long and get you in trouble with the missus. I think you'll consider my article worth the wait. You may even decide to give me a bonus. I typed out, chuckling, and clicked the send button. Though Gary helped me out with this article, I knew how much of a penny pincher the accountants at the news media company were. I was, honestly, surprised the department was willing to work with Gary in setting this up. Remembering the unread email, I went back to my inbox. When I looked at my inbox, I noticed an additional email waiting for me from the same sender. What's so damn important that they need to send it again? I thought to myself as I read the subject line. Reading the subject line, I didn't know if someone was pulling a prank on me or not. Checking again, I read it out loud. Urgent. Time sensitive. Please read. The second email had all the words in time sensitive uppercase, likely the individual worried I wasn't going to take it seriously. Okay, guy, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I shook my head, clicking on the email. Opening, I didn't see the fancy text in most modern emails, but instead the HTML version. There are two main ways to send various malware through email, so I had specifically chosen this service due to it not allowing anything but plain text through. Star, my online alias I create for myself. I don't know when the next time you'll check your inbox is, but I desperately hope you're the type to check your email late at night as I did. You're likely the type to not get directly involved in leads, but honestly, I don't know who else to contact about this. I can't even type it up on the computer. Even this method may be compromised, which is why I need to meet you in person. Considering I don't know what medium is still safe, I'll have to rely on you being curious enough to meet me. I can only send a couple more messages in the hope to stress how urgent this is. I'll be heading towards the meeting place. I was able to track down info on where your first date was located and the place you sat in. I'll be checking. Someone hoping for help. Rereading the email, I didn't know what to think of the message. It reminded me of the hundreds of emails I received through my other accounts from people who discovered proof of the government hiding aliens or secret cabal manipulating the world governments, making it hard for me to take it seriously. After reading for the fourth time, I concluded this was something worth chasing down. The reason narrowed down to two. This person had figured out this email's address, which I only hand out to select people, and knew where I had my first date with Becky Robinson. Not a memory I enjoy bringing up to the surface, considering how the night turned out. I couldn't help but laugh at how awkward I acted. Reminiscing of that time, my eyes looked at the photo sitting on my desk Me standing between my proud parents upon my acceptance into Richard University. Mom, Dad, I guess I'll be coming back home. Unfortunately, this won't be a social visit, so I hope you can forgive me. Emotion slowly welled up inside of me. Rubbing the tears from my eyes, I looked back at the browser and closed the window. Closing the laptop shut, I got up and went to the closet. I guess I'm not getting any sleep tonight, I muttered to myself as I pulled out my bug-out bag. Placing it on the bed, I quickly opened it up and quickly checked to make sure everything was inside the bag. Everything I needed was inside the bag. My password, main computer, extra cash, backup smartphone, power banks, clothes, and calorie bars. It was something I always had ready on the off chance I need to get out in a hurry. Going back to my desk, I pulled out the external hard drive and shoved it into the bag. Turning back to the closet, I pulled out a leather jacket I'd had with me since time immemorial. At least that's how it feels, sometimes putting it on and feeling as if it were part of me. As if part of some tradition, I use one hand to reach the collar and stick my index finger through the torn hole. Every time I still remember the crack and zing of that day. I headed over to the table as I dismissed the memories of that day. Pulling out some paper, I wrote out a simple note reminding myself to pick up some beer and stuck it to the top of my laptop. Those who were close to me knew I didn't drink alcoholic beverages and would serve to inform them I was on story while making those snooping around think I was temporarily gone. It was a simple technique I thought up, even if I never had the opportunity to test it if it worked or not. With my password manager stored on my external, I didn't need to worry about anyone being able to access my notes. Nothing was stored on my laptop's hard drive. My work was stored on an app that encrypted everything. Considering it was open source and verified, not even the owners of the app could view the contents without the unique address and password. All my notes were stored on the app and updated whenever I had a connection to the net. I don't know what I would do without it, considering how much sensitive information I collected. Putting on my pack, I did a last minute check to see if I forgot anything. Feeling the slight tightening in my chest, I thought of the email and had the feeling I'll be gone for a while. I'll be seeing the two of you later. I looked back at the picture of my parents before walking towards the front door. Undoing the several locks on my front door, I opened it to reveal a plain hallway with a thin carpet and white paint, which was peeling in several areas to reveal the cement blocks beneath. Turning around to close the door, I saw the nearly empty studio that only had a mattress and desk alone in the dark. Closing the door, I unlocked and unclipped the carabiner attached to my worn leather belt. With the awkward movement of someone who didn't use their keys often, I fumbled with each one as I locked the multiple deadlocks. Once I finished, I used my shoulder to press up against the door a couple of times to remind me it was reasonably secure. Considering it was only a wooden door, it wouldn't stand up against someone determined to open it, but at least it would keep out the unprofessional thieves living in this complex. Those thieves were one of the reasons I didn't keep any furniture in my studio. I tell myself for the thousandth time. Reclipping and securing my carabiner, I made my way down the hallway with the flickering lights and sound of flies hitting against the plastic cover. Reaching the steps and making my way to the ground floor didn't take much time since I lived on the first floor. There were no run-ins with neighbors as I walked towards the entrance. Even if there were people in the hallways or entrance, none of them would greet others. Everyone kept to themselves and secretly they hid. I pushed open the front door, feeling the cool night air caress my face. It was a welcome change from the blistering heat during the day. Pulling out my smartphone, I quickly checked my digital wallet. Looks like he was happy with it. I grinned at the 4-digit number on my balance. I'll likely need to pick up some odd jobs, but it should cover my expenses for several weeks. Nights in cafes and public parks came to mind. This better be worth it, I muttered to myself as I made myself to the nearby train station, back to where everything started, and hopefully to the writer of the email. And that's it.
Clap.
Well done.
Hold on.
What? What's happening?
I believe you're finished.
Oh wait, I thought you said hold on, not well done.
Oh no, I said
Oh,
well
yeah.
done.
I also heard
I was like,
hold on.
What?
Sorry, it's a little
So-
bit farther away from my mic while I was sipping some water.
No, that's all good. I was sitting there like waiting in suspense for some sort of grand.
Yeah, I was like,
Right.
I was kind of like, what's happening?
Just love like the awkwardness, just like the what's
It's like
what's
it
happening,
sucked.
guys?
I will withhold any and all comments until after the stream has ended.
Oh yes, yes,
You
yes.
you criticized the previous story, but yours sucked.
You had
I mean,
a paragraph and a half about entering a password, but dude.
yeah.
I did notice. Like, yes.
Yeah, we'll save the.
if that bothers you, I can only imagine what you think of my 40,000 word dinner scene.
That is the real horror right there.
Yeah, that's the real horror right there.
That's what
Yeah,
keeps me
that
up at
is.
night, honestly.
Thinking about it, I just suddenly wake up and think 40,000 word dinner scene. It's like,
40,000
oh,
words.
God. Yeah.
What kind of madness is that? I joked with someone I know, and I told them about my story, and they were like, "I can't read your story," and I was like, "Why?" And they admit that they're the type of people that when something starts, they have to finish it, and since they know that I have no intentions of providing an ending to my entire series, because it's just going theoretically keep on going even after my death. They're like, I can't. I just can't.
How does it keep going on after
great.
your death?
Because I hope
AI,
someone like if I have like
using AI.
kids, then I'll what's it called when like you pass on something to your kids?
The family
It's
business.
like an inheritance. Yeah.
I think.
So I'll be like, hey kids, this got me
Sounds-
through life. Now you can pay for college. So keep
That
keep
sounds more
keep
like
at
a
it.
curse.
Yeah, I was about to say this kid grows up and he's just like, I've got to finish this fucking for the rest of my
you
life.
must write until you die,
all
and then
my
you have to
kids,
pass it
all
on.
my kids have to stop. It's like you'll be in charge of this branch of the of Yggdrasil, and you will continue on, and then you'll pass on to your kids.
Of course.
After society crumbles, they're like, we've been working on this for lifetimes. We don't know when it started.
Anyways, I'm just gonna shout out Creation on Royal Road if you want to continue that. He has 2 chapters up. Wow, that
Yeah,
one was released
and
3 years ago. Okay, there's a lengthy
Yeah,
gap
it's
between these two.
it's very periodic. I only update it when I kind of like need a break from my main thing.
Ah, that's fair. That's fair. That is a picture and a half right there.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are moving on next to Stay Away from the Rocky Cove. So we have received permission from Josiah Clark to read the story on stream. So if you like it, go check out his things. He's got a website, Story by Sire, where you can sign up for his newsletter and get all his latest stuff. And Jen, I think this is your one.
Yep. Hold up. Let me get to it. All right.
All good.
Okay. I'm gonna start now. Mind your manners. Be home before dark, and stay away from Rocky Cove. Evan had been given those instructions more times than he could remember. How many times had he heard them? How many times had his mother barked them over her shoulder in his short life? Dozens? Hundreds? Maybe thousands? So many times that the words themselves had nearly lost all their potency. They were less instruction now than incantation, as meaningless as the soft assurances one gives a wailing infant while their mind is far away. Evan's mother said the words out of habit rather than conviction. All the mothers did. The ones with children older than suckling age, anyway. Maybe that was why he was disobeying his mother now. Mind your manners? That one was easy enough. A polite child brought honor to their parents. be home before dark. Any smart boy did as much. There were demons in the night, after all. Hungry demons. Demons which slobbered and smacked their lips at the prospect of feasting on a child's flesh. Stay away from Rocky Cove. No reason was ever given for this last instruction. According to Chrissy, who was 4 months his senior, a fact she never let him forget, the cove was the home of demons, the place from which they sprang into the night as the sun sank, and into which they retreated as she rose again. My mother said so, she had insisted, and though Evan didn't think Chrissy actually believed it, he himself wasn't so sure. Branches creaked in the night breeze. Evan felt a tingle in the small of his back. He cast his eyes up at the moonbeams, glowing through the dark forest canopy. Demons, ha! Evan's small voice rang out. There was something deeply uncomfortable about the way the forest smothered the sound. It was so quick, so absolute. Evan shook himself off. Demons. A big boy didn't believe in such things. A big boy, dare he think it, a man, laughed at the very idea. Snap. Evan's heart leaped into his throat. He froze in place. The dark forest around him danced with hidden threats. He could almost feel the long fingers of a demon caressing the back of his neck. Then the moment passed. His heartbeat slowed. He laughed a little at his own foolishness. A twig. That was all. The forest was full of sounds like that during the day, so why not at night? Sure, a twig had snapped, and that was all. There were no demons. No such thing. But even so, it was better to be safe than sorry. Mother of the wood, grant me safe passage, Evan murmured, wiping the sweat from his palms into his breeches. Guide me with thy lantern light, and... Oh, how did the rest of the prayer go? He suddenly couldn't remember. Only one incantation sprang to his mind, and it brought little comfort. Mind your manners, be home before dark, and stay away from Rocky Cove. Oh, damn it all, the small boy growled. He felt suddenly a little braver, a little older. If his mother heard him saying swear words, but she can't hear me now. I can say whatever I like. Damn it all. Damn it all, Evan sang, his voice growing a little louder with each swear. He was moving again. It wasn't much farther to the edge of the forest, and from there it was only a short distance to his destination. His heart beat faster, but not from fear this time. It was pure excitement he was feeling now. He'd been planning this for days. Chrissy and Phil had chickened out at the last moment, but not him. He was braver than both of them put together. Tonight, he would prove it. Evan, a voice whispered. The small boy froze. His face went pale. Phil, he hissed. Chrissy? There was no answer. If you're trying to scare me, it won't work. Still no answer. A breeze rattled leaves high above. I'll show you both, Evan called again. Come out, wherever you are. Click. A bright yellow light suddenly bloomed behind him. It cast his shadow against the trees. Evan whirled around to face the light. Oh, very funny, Phil. I know that's... The words died on his lips. It wasn't Phil. It wasn't even Chrissy. It was a tall woman. She held a lantern in one hand and a parasol in the other. The parasol was rotting away, as was the dress the woman wore. It looked almost like a wedding dress, but it was stained brown and green. If it ever had been white, it was long ago. The tattered cloth trailed behind her, dragging along the forest floor. Her face was obscured in shadows the lantern light couldn't seem to touch. I'm sorry, Evan stammered. I thought... Mind your manners. Evan Venner, my lady, said Evan, clasping his right shoulder with his left hand and bowing instinctively. At your service. His mother had taught him well. The thought made him feel a touch guilty. The woman didn't reply. She just tilted her shadowed head to the side a little. Something about the movement made the boy's stomach squirm. Please excuse my rudeness, Evan continued. He didn't know what else to say. At yours and your family's, said the woman. Her voice was soft, cool, like leaves rippling in the puddle. Evan blinked. It was the same voice that had whispered his name. Pardon me, my lady, but how do you know my name before? Everyone who walks the night, the woman said. A mother knows the names of each of her children. Evan's mouth went dry. The woman raised the lantern and twirled the parasol on her shoulder. Though he couldn't see her face, it seemed to Evan that she was smiling kindly down on him. Come, she said. I will see you to the forest's end. Thank you, my lady, said Evan. Be home before dark. Fell in step he fell in step beside the woman. The lantern light felt safe and warm. His footsteps crunched softly on the forest floor. Hers made no sound at all. Evan was having second thoughts about this adventure. After all, he was walking with the mother of the wood. If she was real, then maybe the demons. Yes, child, they are real, said the woman. But fear not. You walk with me now, and I will protect you. The demons will go hungry one more night. Evan shuddered. Somehow, he didn't find the mother's words reassuring. The trees were beginning to thin. Evan could see twinkling reflections of moonlight on the sea waters beyond. Doubt gnawed at his stomach. He felt guilty. For the first time, it occurred to him that his mother might not be asleep. What if she was awake? What if she was worried about him? A mother's heart breaks for her children each and every day, Evan, said the mother of the wood. To be a man is to choose these heartbreaks wisely. Do you see? Evan nodded. I see, he lied. The woman laughed. It was a pleasant laugh. But you were just a child. Perhaps there is still time for you to understand. Evan swallowed. Perhaps? The forest was behind them now. They had reached the cliffs overlooking the stony beach. Evan's destination lay just beyond. This is where I leave you, said the woman. Evan's heart panged with alarm. Though she hadn't left yet, he suddenly felt terribly alone. No, please, stay with me, he said. Come with me, please. Oh, sweet child, the woman crooned. She lifted the lantern to her face and blew it out. As the light was extinguished, the shadows receded from her face. Evan staggered backward, horrified. The skin of her face was flayed apart. Her exposed eyeballs were raw and red. The little hair that remained on her head hung down in matted strings. She had no nose, but worst of all was her mouth. The lips had been split vertically and stretched apart. Two halves of her upper lip were nailed into her cheeks, while the ruined lower lip hung from her jaw like ragged flags. Her neck was long, unnaturally long, too long, and Evan suddenly understood why the tilt of her head had unnerved him. He tried to scream. Tried, but failed. There was no air left in his lungs to scream with. Come visit me again, dear boy, the mother of the woods said. She closed her parasol and placed its tip against his chest. And next time, bring the woman you call your mother. Then she pushed him. He was falling. Oh. Hold up. All right, sorry about that. He was falling his arms and his arms and legs flailing wildly through empty air. Crack. Beach pebbles scattered every which way. Evan gasped for breath. Salty sea spray pelted him. It was bitterly cold. He lay there for a long while. The ghastly visage of the mother of the wood burned into his eyes. Then he stirred, picking himself up. How am I alive? He wondered aloud. It was a fair question. When he looked up at the cliffs from which he had been pushed, they seemed unfathomably high. No one could survive a fall of that height. No one. Mind your manners. Be home before dark. Stay away from Rocky Cove. Evan squared his shoulders, trying to calm himself down. There was no sense in turning back now. He had almost reached his destination. It was a short walk to Rocky Cove. Evan's small feet stepped lightly over the water-worn rocks that seemed eager to turn a young boy's ankle. He didn't dare turn to look at the sea. Its dark vastness was too huge, too frightening. He kept his eyes forward. The cliff face turned just ahead, and the beach plummeted down into a shallow ravine as it twisted inward to meet the stone face. The pebbles were larger here than on the beach above, dark from wetness and perilously slippery. Evan leaned backward until his rear touched the stones and scooted his way through the slope. He might avoid falling this way, but the seat of his breeches were soon soaked, and his buttocks started to numb from the wet and cold. Foul, fishy reek assaulted his nostrils. His eyes watered. Damn it all, he thought. It smells worse than the butcher's shed. He wrinkled his nose and pressed on. Soon the ground leveled out, and he was able to stand again. Hello? Is this Rocky Cove? He asked aloud. There was no answer. Evan shivered and slapped at his buttocks to wake them from their tingling numbness. He felt a little foolish, but took comfort in Chrissy's absence. He was too young to take a fancy to anyone, but her mockery would still have brought the red to his cheeks. Hello? He called again. Again, no answer. Stay away from Rocky Cove. But why? The more time he spent here, the less intimidating Evan found it. What was so dangerous about this place? The thought of demons came to mind, But if Chrissy's mother was right, and this was their home, they were away at this time of night. Right now, in the deepest hours of darkness, the cove was almost pleasant if one ignored the wet and cold. Evan sniffed. Big mistake. Somehow, he had forgotten the pungent, fishy odor for a moment. Or perhaps the wind had changed? Either way, it was back now, and far stronger than before. The small boy nearly heaved out the day's food, but managed to hold his insides in. Damn it all, he spat. I felt a bit better. Hello? His heart stopped. It was his own voice, an echo, coming from deeper inside the cove. But why would an echo take so long to return to him? Damn it all, his own voice echoed. This echo, too, had taken too long, far too long, to return. Evan had explored the little caves near his home enough times to instinctively understand how echoes were meant to sound, and this was most certainly not how they were meant to sound. His eyes fixed on the deeper darkness that seemed to lie some 50 paces deeper inland. He hadn't noticed it before, not until he thought about the caves. This distant darkness was somehow more huge and terrible than the sea's vast maw. But where he had been able to avert his eyes from the sea, this maw of shadow held his gaze so strongly that he couldn't even blink. Stay away from Rocky Cove. Was this little ravine, this rocky inlet, not Rocky Cove after all? Or perhaps not the true Rocky Cove? Was this cold, wet, stinking little divot like his mother's flower patch, a buffer between the outside world and the house he lived in? Was that darker place a cave, hidden against a cliff face? Or was it something else? Suddenly, his own mother's voice snapped out at him from that deeper darkness. Evan, come in this instant. Mind me, child, or I'll fetch the switch. Evan's feet shuffled obediently forward, his heart hammering, his stomach heavy. Mother was upset. She only threatened to switch him when she was very angry indeed, and by the tone of her voice, he was in for the hide tanning of his life. Coming, mother. Sorry, mother. Please, mother. I won't do it again, he thought, automatically. The darkness seemed almost to stretch out towards him, like a waiting mouth. It was drawing him in, swallowing him whole, taking him. No, Evan cried, sturdily within himself with the force and violence of this defiance. No, you're not my mother. Staggered backward, stumbling and tripping over his own feet. The darkness that had been luring him in grew darker still. His small chest rose and fell with quick, shallow breaths. Not my mother, he panted. Not my mother. A wheezy snickering emanated from the dark. The sound reminded him of the phlegm-choked coughs one heard throughout the village each winter. Evan, the voice bubbled. Evan. No, Evan gasped. No, stay away from me. Ooh, Evan. What does your dear mother always say? Mind your manners? The voice said. A boy must be polite. The darkness moved. What Evan had thought might be a distant cave was no such thing. Nor was it far away, as he had first thought. The thing was less than 5 paces from his shoes. Then something reached out of the darkness, and Evan understood. This deeper darkness wasn't natural at all. It was a cloak. The arm that stretched towards his face was white and red and black with bone and blood and rot. It moved with a serpentine flexibility that twisted Evan's stomach with fear. But the hand was worst of all. Where the arm it was attached to was thin, the hand was plump, almost swollen. There was no skin on the rotting arm, but the hand wore soft flesh like a glove. Its long fingers came closer and closer to Evan's face, and he was suddenly quite sure that if those fingers touched him, he would die. He scrabbled backwards, squealing incoherently with fear, sounding more like a suckling pig than a boy. The fleshy hand and its dripping arm pawed at the air where his nose had just been. Evan, the voice gurgled, still speaking with the voice of his mother. Come back here, son. Mind your mother, Evan. The cloak lurched closer. Its edges flapped as it shifted, releasing a noxious fume from within that was far fouler than any reek Evan had ever smelled before. He couldn't stop himself. He vomited. He belched a gat of bile into his shirt, nearly choking on the rest as it tried to slide back down his throat. Hacking and retching, the small boy tumbled to one side, trying to get his feet under him to make a run for it. Bile dripped onto the wet stones in thin runners. Evan, the thing in the cloak, chuckled. Why didn't you mind your mother, boy? Do you know how much you worried me? I was up half the night, Evan. Worried sick. Worried, sick. Fleshy hand closed around Evan's ankle. The embrace was terribly warm, almost soothing. The boy screamed. The thing pulled. Wham! Evan's ears rang as his jaw clipped the large rock. He barely had time to register that he'd been yanked off his feet. And now he was being dragged, reeled in, kicking and flopping against his doom like a dying fish. Then he was rising into the air, hair hanging down, nostrils burning from the bile that rushed into his sinuses. The thing lifted him up, higher and higher, till he was level with the top of the cloak. "Oh, Evan," said his mother's voice. "My dear, sweet boy." Mother, Evan gagged. The cloak fell back. His mother's eyes stared into his own from a face as rotting and foul as the arm that held him aloft. She smiled, too widely, with teeth that were even a clean and white. Too many teeth. "Mind me, son. Do you swear?" I swear, Mother. I'll mind you. I'm sorry," Evan bawled. "Very good," the flesh mother cooed. "Then be a good lad and don't squirm. I do hate a squirmer." Before Evan could choke out another word, his world went dark and hot and wet as his mother's jaw opened wide and she swallowed him whole. She licked the tips of her bloated fingers with a black and tattered tongue, letting the cloak fall from her shoulders. She trundled back into the darkness of the cove, her massive form frog-like and oozing. She belched as the boy's last struggles faded into death within her belly. "Mind your manners. Be home before dark, and stay away from Rocky Cove," the thing gurgled. Then its eyes went black and it faded into the night darkness to wait its long vigil once more.
Well done.
That was really good.
Yeah. Good job.
You have a voice made for narration.
Yeah, just a bit.
Interesting.
If you did like a few more, practiced a bit, probably had some lemon or ginger tea nearby, and just
Yeah,
sit like
and
if it's pause
ginger
to take
tea.
a break, you'd do wonderful. Like you definitely got talent for it.
Well, I drank nothing but yogurt, so there you go.
I like the vor at the end. That was a nice touch.
You need to just calm down, Grady. You need
Yeah.
to have a cold shower.
Immediately.
Did you guys like my comments on the side?
No. That's interesting.
But do you have like a horny bonk?
So about
I
the
need a horny.
Dojin.
I need a horny.
Yeah. Specifically for creation, I believe.
I've
Didn't
got the
expect a
remove
change,
from
but
call
neither
feature.
am I averse to it.
But we should definitely get some emotes and stuff that people can use.
Well, you get to add emotes once you become associate, right?
Yeah, like emotes and also like redeems, like head pats and stuff.
Yeah.
Or bonks.
Wait, what? Why bonks?
Because
I
you need
Well,
a
see
I
no
think it's
bonk.
pretty
reason for
obvious.
this.
I
see
I
no
see
reason
plenty of reason for it. I look to my
Or-
right into the chat,
I
and
can
that's all
think
I
of
need.
just one redeem. Just someone calling out "Purple Bros."
So yes, I left
Or
the
maybe
link.
the-
Oh wait, what?
Or maybe a voice thing saying "Get on with it" when somebody's going too long.
Get on with it. So
is
I
that
left.
directed at me?
No,
I mean,
actually, I'm just thinking of like when story goes too long, it's,
yeah.
or maybe like Gordon Ramsay, "Where's the plot?" instead of "Where's the fish?"
Where's the plot? What's the point that you're trying to make? Say it quickly. So yeah, the link to that story is in the chat right now. Stay away from Honey Cove from Josiah Clark. Thank you for letting us read it. Yeah. Overall, our thoughts on that story.
I
It was
think it was
interesting.
great. It was good. I liked that.
It had
Did kind
a
of
more
like the
wait. It had a more traditional horror vibe for me
Yes.
than anything we've actually seen or read today at all.
It definitely is more like a traditional horror story that gets turned into a children's story eventually. But there's always that kernel of something unsettling at the center.
Or gets turned into a dojin.
Oh my
No.
god.
Okay.
Hey, dojin just means it's self-published. That's all it means.
Mhm,
Okay, I don't know what all of you are thinking about, but
Well,
Mhm.
it's
it is,
just
well, yes, but
self-publishing.
you know.
I don't like this accusatory tone that all of you are taking.
Um,
Don't know
You
what
know,
it means,
you
but I'm not going to ask. Because knowing creation, I can probably put together a good idea as to what it is.
Yeah, it's a self-publishing system.
Nope,
It just
not
means
that.
published work. It's like Kindle Unlimited or whatever. Amazon Unlimited.
That's,
No,
that's
Moving
very
along.
different. Moving along. We need I need a soundbite. I need a soundbite that plays. So we
I will gladly help you record that.
please.
I want a redeem that just says for.
Oh god. Oh god. Oh god.
No, that only happens in the dark timeline where somebody reads Dreadwolf.
Yes.
Alright.
So I was going to read a story after this, but we are running short on time. So
we can always extend it. You know,
Ah.
we want you to have we want you to have a chance too.
I know,
Yeah.
but you know what? A part of me doesn't want me to have a chance.
If you want Aqua, I will read it.
Ooh. Would you like to read it?
Seeing as that I'm the one who wrote it.
Ooh. Okay. Okay, we will extend for a little longer then.
I win.
You win, but only by
Oh.
Grid's hand.
30 to the 2-hour mark. That's interesting.
Yes, we are at the 2-hour mark, which is usually how long we go for, but we will allow for a little longer for our Halloween special. Ooh.
I think a
will
sample size
slowly
of 2
become the
allows for
norm.
good data.
What was that?
It'll
don't think
become
a
the
sep-
norm.
I think we need a one at a time thing here, right?
I don't think a sample size of 2 allows for a good fit metric.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
this is the story, Golden Halls, written by myself. Great an ad.
Take it away.
I woke up with no memory of where or who I was. Standing up, I took in my surroundings. Soft white light illuminated lustrous gold panels that made up a long hallway. The long, thin lights were placed intermittently where the floor and ceiling met the walls. The hallway seemed to stretch when I gazed down its length, as if some mechanism was lengthening it while I watched. Looking down at myself, I'm wearing a black uniform that, though it's strangely patchy, like some fire has burned holes in it without leaving burnt edges. On my belt, an empty holster sits, forlorn of whatever it held. With no idea of what to do, I start to walk forward, not even sure if there's an end or an exit. The air smells fresh, but too clean, as if it had been vigorously scrubbed of a foul odor, then pumped back into the room. A lingering sense of something watching me won't let me relax. The feeling of just before I'd come along, as they had hidden themselves, and still feel the presence. Every so often, the hallway would cross another. However, I would never deviate from my path. I feel I'll eventually reach the end of this hall if I trudge onwards. After what felt like days of walking, I spy a scrap of cloth, no larger than my hand on the yellow metal floor. A blue fabric of some kind, and almost immaterial in its thickness, lies there just to the side. As I reach down to grab it, the cloth disintegrates into a blue dust as my fingers graze it. As the dust slowly drifts across the floor, disturbed by some faint breeze I can't quite feel, a thought unbidden comes to me. That was the same color as the engineer's uniform. With that, a wave of hazy memories sweeps over my mind. Remington, the engineer, fawning over new power converter, his blue flight suit rumpled and dirty from frequent trips through the crawl spaces. Without noticing, I had slumped against the wall, my head in my hands. I had a crew, but with no idea where they were or where I was. That scrap of uniform gave me a feeling of unease as to the fate of my crew. I continued onward for some time until at last the hallway ended. A great hangar of gold metal and bright white lights lay before me. A black void occupies the far right wall, blue energy crackling across the surface. No stars can be seen, but in my gut, I know beyond that void the vacuum of space sits. On a rail set in the floor, poised to be launched into that black expanse, sits a strange craft, pearly white and trimmed with the same golden metal that dominates the room. There are many more empty rails. I could even make out wear marks on them from previous launches. To my left, a bank of terminals and lockers are arranged. Most of the lockers have the doors ajar and are empty. The room has a feeling of some emergency just passed, and the frantic rush of activity has just ended. As I walk to the terminal, an ethereal echo raises the hair on my neck and arms. The Artemis weapon will fire again. Primal growl escapes my throat. Some internal part of me recognizes that name, and that it's the reason I'm isolated here in this labyrinth of gold. I go to a terminal that's active. Its screen a pale robin egg blue. Try to find a map or something to help me. My fingers fly across the screen, apparently knowing how to use this machine, despite my lack of memory. Soon I found a map of where I am. A vast maze of lines intersecting, joining, then splitting, overwhelms my mind as the screen zooms further and further in. I can't read whatever alien script is displayed on the screen, but I have an impression of a massive space station. I must be at one of the many hangars. Pressing an icon resembling a beam rapidly pans the map to what must be a massive room on the edge of the map. Another icon of 2 points connected by a line makes path for me. It leads back out from the It leads out from the black void in this room, though. That small ship must be a shuttle. I rush over to it, not even wondering how I know how to access the terminal or the ship. Entering the cockpit, all I can think is that I must stop the Artemis weapon from firing. Feverishly, I start mashing buttons. One of them must be the launch control. After felt like an hour of frantic button combinations, pulling a lever under the instrument panel propelled the craft violently forward, slamming me against the uncomfortably shaped seat. The black void of the hangar exit cascaded over the cockpit, rippling like water over a mirror. I hear a stoic, authoritarian voice in my mind say, "We have no other choice. If we don't stop that weapon from firing, all life in the galaxy will be snuffed out." From outside the hangar, I can see the smallest portion of the giant labyrinth I had been in. Bare rock is scarred with craters, gleaming metal corridors, and arcane machinery. I can see my destination ahead, surrounded by impact marks and husks of thousands of ships like the one I'm in right now. A monolithic array of unknowable age dominates the horizon. It was no station I had been in, but rather a planet converted to a dark, cruel purpose. Thinking about the sea of ancient and new shuttles, battered to bits below me, brings dark thoughts to my mind. What if I'm too late? Did the weapon fire already? Is that why I can't remember anything? How many times has it fired before? The thought that I'm not the first to destroy it, the thought that not the first to try to disable the weapon doesn't faze me, but the chance I may be the last terrifies me. The terror that I may fail even if it fired before I woke. That if I don't stop it now, it'll fire again, and continue to snuff out the galaxy of life is too horrible a thought to dwell on. Pushing the small shuttle as fast as it can go, I dismiss any thoughts of failure. I aim the shuttle for a damaged section of the giant array. The acceleration starts to make me black out, and my last sight is the damage has been caused by hundreds of impacts, and a crack has taken hold. My vision fades as a looming wall of gold fills the view screen, and all is dark.
Amazing. Amazing. I love your narration as always.
Thanks. I
Now-
was noticing errors I had made in writing that, so I'm like, I can't stop to edit those.
I also noticed
Right.
that as you were reading them, and you fixed them in your narration on the fly. So I applaud that.
That was based off of a dream I had, a nightmare to be specific.
It's definitely very different kind
job.
of horror. Again, to anything we've really seen today. It is. What was this dream that you had? Is this the dream? Is this
That is the dream, almost exactly what happens. But I did add towards the end of it. The dream was basically mainly me just lost in this giant golden ship, not being able to find a way out.
Mm.
I decided to add some existential horror that this
I was about to
universe
say.
just keeps killing itself over and over again.
If you actually had that dream, pain, absolute pain. I love existential horror.
Existential dread is definitely a horror style.
Yes. Yeah, so that's why I said it was very different. It was a very different kind of horror than what we've seen, and everything else today. I feel like we've explored quite a lot in terms of horror genres, horror
It's
types.
It did
so
miss
much more than what
some-
people think.
It did miss some elements that in the story that Grid narrated, but I'll let it pass.
Well,
All right.
but sorry, I'm just like reading it as we're talking, and just going over bits. The people who are watching on stream can just gotta see me scroll through.
We lost another person. It was at 6, and now it's at 5.
Oh well.
We are not ones to watch other than creation because he's all about that clout. But
Fight on the
Right.
cloud.
for us,
Yeah,
we are
that.
just happy to be here. I want to thank you everyone for reading.
So we'll be doing the next story now.
No.
I will boot you out of this chat.
We end with an idea for someone to write a horror story. I actually have one based off of another dream. You're being chased through a city with no windows. You know there's a beast behind you, and your leg is injured. There's a lake up ahead that you must cross. That's it.
That's it.
Have fun with that. That's
So wait. I thought you were reading a story.
no, that is actually an idea for one I'm going to be writing.
It was
And
an
I figured
idea.
I would drop a buzz in your ear or a bug in your ear to see if any of you guys would make a spin of it.
Oh, do you want us to go around and sort of make this, or
we could.
I
That
that would
go for
cost
it
my
now.
brain.
Let's
I
do
was
it.
about to
Hurt my
say.
brain.
Let's go.
I think that's more just maybe
No, we can totally do
leave
it right
that
now.
with the viewers
do
to
it.
think what they might think of a
it's true.
Right.
story like that.
It's true. So let's just keep this as a future story prompt that you can
For next year.
for next year.
Right.
Just for your own writing, for the chat's writing.
Yes, homework for next Halloween.
Homework, please. I want to see this story. I want at least 50k words.
Minimum, of course. Could go-
Minimum, if you want to
max.
expand a bit further, also want to heavily edited and drafted, just so I can slap it onto
exactly.
the shelves.
Okay, chat. We got this going for 7+ minutes. So next time, We need slowly by 30-second increments. Okay, slowly, not too fast.
30-second increments.
But thank you everyone for coming on. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the spooky library. This is
Oh yes,
where we've been
Spooky
chilling
library.
out.
we have Stephen King novels to read.
We do. This
Start
is
start tweeting at Aqua that you demand extensions for future live streams. Let's go. Let's go, people. Let's go, chat. I'm counting
This
on
outro
you.
has gone on long enough. Good night, everyone.
Yes.
Good
that.
night.
Yeah, just leave.
And see you everyone. Adios.
Buenas
No.
noches.
Bye.
And now there was one. It's just me now. Thank you everyone coming along, and I should be streaming at some other points during the week. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I am going to be doing a collab with TBD on an anime tier list. Gonna play some Overwatch 2. Bruh. That's all I can think about now. I can become a reality. But we'll see how it works out. But I'll see you guys in a few days, or I'll see you guys for Writer's Bar on the Rocks this time next week. Adios.